Hej, jeg hedder Bobby Bovell, og jeg er præsten i Cafekirken. Jeg vil gerne snakke med jer om vores venskab med Gud. I'll take the rest in English just as I share some things with you about what Christianity is. Jesus has a statement where he says, I don't call you servants, I call you friends. Jesus' teachings paint the picture of a God who is looking for friends. It's kind of like if God was a person who saw you on Facebook or MySpace or some other social networking website and he sent you a friend request. A friend request that you can either accept by saying that you'd like to connect with this person, you can ignore, or you could question and say, is this friend request real? It can be difficult to believe that God is real when you look at the world and you see that there's evil and that there's death and that there's suffering and that there is pain. It reminds me of a story in the Bible about a king who is looking for the family of a friend who has passed away. And he's told, yes, your friend has one son who is crippled in the feet, and his name is Mephibosheth, but we just call him Meph for short. Now, Meph's story is pretty interesting. He was 5 years old when his nanny was carrying him, and as she was running away to escape danger, she dropped him, and he fell, and he damaged his feet and became crippled. Meth in this story represents a symbol and one of the great teachings of Christianity, because Christianity teaches that the world was not always like this, but that we had a fall and it damaged the world. I want you to imagine a plane that is flying over the sea, and all of a sudden something happens to one of the engines, and then the plane ends up crashing into the sea. And after a while, you can imagine that some of the wreckage starts to wash up on the shore. Some of the parts of the plane start to wash up on the beach. When you see the wreckage of the plane, it doesn't stop you from believing in flight. And in the same way, when you look at the world and you see that there is evil and there is death and war and pain and suffering, that shouldn't stop us from believing in God, because all we're seeing is the wreckage of a world that used to fly but crashed somehow and became damaged. Meth actually accepts a request to come to the palace so that he can speak with the king. But when Meth gets there, he's really aware of himself and aware of his flaws. He knows that he's kind of damaged because he's crippled. And again, he shows us something about Christianity, that Christianity teaches that the fall that has happened to the world not only damaged nature and the world, the way we experience it, causing wars, etc., but it also affected human nature. Every human being on this planet is deeply flawed. There's something wrong with the human heart. Human hearts tend to be selfish. Humans tend to be unattentive to other people's feelings sometimes. Human beings can often find it difficult to get past themselves. Human beings can sometimes blame other people for things that they did so that they don't look so bad. Human beings can sometimes be jealous of people's success. Human beings tend to be cowards. Human beings tend to judge other people. There's something wrong with the human heart. And Meth is very much aware of his flaws, like human beings are sometimes, and he can't believe that the king wants to be his friend. So the king's response is to tell him not to be afraid and to tell him that he will restore to him all of the things that belonged to his father before he died. Um, it's almost as if Meth needed to know that, like, there was a real backup to this friend request, that he needed to see concrete evidence of God's or of the king's intentions. And again, it's an illustration of Christianity. Christianity teaches that Jesus came to the planet almost as if he came flying in, landed on earth with his plane, opened the doors to the plane, and then showed a concrete example of his intention to be our friend. Opened the plane doors and said, "Come in and see what it's like to fly. Let me show you a little bit of God's life so that you can be freed from the the questions in your mind about who God is, and so that you can be freed somehow from being so aware of yourself by being connected to someone who is outside of yourself, and that is God." And then he also puts us in a church community, and we're grateful that you've come to our church community today to be with us, and we're glad that you're here. He puts you in a church community so that you can be focused not on yourself but be focused on someone else, and therefore again become free from the self-loathing that human beings often experience. Meth accepts the invitation to be the king's friend, and he begins living at the palace with the king, just like a prince there, really, and not like a servant, but like a friend. And God invites each one of us today to accept his friend request. He'd like to be our friends, and that's what Christianity is all about. That's what having a relationship with God is all about. It means that you are God's friend, and you get a taste now of the world that is to come, so to speak, a spiritual taste. God hasn't fixed all of the problems that are in the world in terms of evil and in terms of war and in terms of pain on this visit from Jesus. But he promises that on the next visit, the world will be transformed. But if we don't get involved in that world now, we won't really be ready in our hearts to live in that world later on. So the friend request comes to you today, just like it comes to me, and we should accept it and really begin to be God's friends, just like it was supposed to be all along. Thank you for worshipping with us at Cafe Church today. We want you to know that we are a church who are committed to helping people meet Jesus and be touched by him and then pass it on. You're always welcome to be with us for whatever we do. We have a teaching weekend that's coming this Friday. It starts at 7:30 and we'll be here all weekend. You can register and you can see on the posters where that needs to be done. I'm glad I was able to share this message with you today. I hope that you will continue to be blessed. I'm grateful for the choir who's come, that are really just blessing us with their wonderful music. Thank you, and God bless you, and know that he is with you as a friend wherever you go. We are God's friends. See you soon. Bye-bye.